Let's get to it, my man. So I have been putting some things up on Twitter because I try to be as um let's put it fair as possible. And I'm a big Jimmy Garoppolo critic because of the way he plays. I mean, we're 2-0 in the playoffs, but he's thrown 0 touchdowns and 1 interception in every single game. So it's not necessarily lights out play from the quarterback position. However, there's something to be said about the fact that when Jimmy's on the field, this team is a contender for whatever reason, right? And I've gotten to the point where it's like I can't even say anything about it, right? At the end of the day, the years that Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy for a majority of the season, in 2017 they went 5-0. 2019 they made it to the Super Bowl. Now 2021, 2022 they're in the NFC Championship games. These are the 2.5 years that Jimmy Garoppolo has played a majority of the games. He is not elite by numbers. He is not elite by, his performance, but his intangibles seem to rub off on this team. And let's be honest, it's a really good team, but they win. And if you look at a 4.5 year stint of any quarterback for the 49ers, obviously Montana and Young are going to be the guys that are above and beyond. But then you look at the other quarterbacks. How many in 5 years have taken the team to 2 NFC championships? That list is very small. And so what would you say, knowing that whatever happens this season, more than likely it's going to be the end of Jimmy Garoppolo as a 49er. How would you see Jimmy Garoppolo's legacy with the 49ers?
Gosh, it really depends on how this season goes, Sunil. I hate to say it's incomplete, but to me, it kind of is, right? Like,
Let's put it in two categories then. Let's say
okay,
it ends on Sunday, what his legacy will be. Let's say they make it to the Super Bowl, but lose, what's his legacy? And then let's say, obviously, if they win the Super Bowl, what's his legacy?
yeah, okay. So I think worst case scenario for him is to make it to the Super Bowl and lose.
Okay.
Even worse than losing this week, because I think once you make it there a second time, if you don't punch it home twice, especially if he has a blunder of a play or a series, then he's going to be forever known as the choke artist, like the guy that couldn't get it done. Like, he's not going to be revered, in my opinion, whatsoever. It's not going to be a good memory for a lot of 49er fans. If they lose in the NFC Championship, he plays decent, what have you. I still think that one moment, the Emmanuel Sanders pass, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's going to stick in everybody's mind. That's forever going to be a thing. But we're further and further removed from that loss that it won't be as big of a deal as if they lost the Super Bowl again this year. Fresh wound. They're going to remember the Emmanuel Sanders one, then they're going to remember whatever that he screwed up in this one. So
Right.
that's why I say it's worse. His legacy will be worse off if they make it to a Super Bowl and lose, and he plays a part in that. Now, if they win a Super Bowl, I mean, he'll forever be loved by the 49er community. Anytime you win a ring, like that's it. It doesn't matter what happened. Nobody's going to go back in 10 years and be like, well, he only threw for 130 yards a game and he had 0 touchdowns in 4 playoff games and they didn't win because of him. Like, none of that shit's going to matter if they make it and win a Super Bowl. In 10 years from now, everything that will be remembered is that he was a champion. He brought them their first ring since 1994, and nothing else is going to matter. So if he wins it, he'll forever be loved. He'll forever go down in the history books, and people will always remember Jimmy G in a good light. If he loses in the Super Bowl, worst case scenario, people will hate him forever. And if he loses this week, they'll kind of remember him for the Emmanuel Sanders thing. It'll be a nice little blip on the radar. He'll be remembered much like Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith will be remembered in 10 years from now. Cool, but ultimately you didn't win a Super Bowl, and that's what matters in San Francisco.
Yeah, I wonder, I wonder how Baltimore fans think of Trent Dilfer. And I wonder what Tampa fans, you might be able to say, what Tampa fans think of, what's his name, Brad Johnson?
Brad Johnson.
Yeah. I wonder how people feel about them because obviously nobody looks at those two quarterbacks and think that they're the reason why those teams did what they did because they had phenomenal defenses and obviously like Hall of Fame players on the defenses in those games. But there also are quarterbacks that led to the Super Bowl, which are very rare for any team, right? Even the best team has 6, right? So
Yep.
the best organization. So I wonder, for some reason, I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo's legacy with the Super Bowl is going to be higher than a Trent Dilfer or a Brad Johnson. The reason why is this 49ers organization has been so up and down, and more down than anything over these last 20 years. And for everything to be said, even with the Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, right? Alex Smith then gets traded. So he doesn't necessarily get to be, get the recognition because Colin Kaepernick kind of stepped in and did that. Colin Kaepernick, obviously, whatever you want to say for him, unfortunately, his legacy isn't only going to be football. It's also going to be the political side of him, wherever you stand on that side. But that will always be kind of what people remember Colin Kaepernick for, more than what he did on the field, good or bad, right? I don't necessarily agree that we should forget, because I think he was a very good quarterback, but
Yeah,
that
I
is
agree.
just the way that it is. But with Jimmy, the class that he's brought to the position, the character that he showed, even though his play can be frustrating, he's definitely, I mean, he's leaving the team in a much better place than it was than when he came in. And I think that 49er fans that look at just how bad this organization was, right? It's kind of like a distant memory as far as just how the 49ers were in the news for all the wrong reasons just 5 years ago, right? With all of the DUIs and off the field stuff, people were getting suspended and just so bad, right? So bad. And the quarterbacks, you can't even name them unless you're like somebody that's really like a 49er like fanatic. I just look at him and I think that he's just a likable guy, and I think that the team is just much better now than it was when he came into the organization in 2017, and to not give him credit for that, I think is just not fair. And I think overall he's going to be looked at as of now, I would say maybe a top 5 quarterback in the organization. I think that, obviously Montana and Young are going to be 1 and 2. And then maybe you put Jeff Garcia. But I think, Jeff Garcia, Kaepernick, Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think they're fighting for those 3, 4, and 5 spots. And, being a top 5 quarterback, maybe even top 3 for an organization as established as the 49ers, not too bad, man.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And like I said, I mean, I was in a space after the game and they were talking about, what I mean, Jimmy's gonna go at the end of the season no matter what, right? And I said, I suspect that they're gonna get rid of Jimmy regardless. But if they gave him a 10-year extension after they won the Super Bowl, even I would be like, cool. Like, do whatever you feel like you. I don't care if you win a Super. I do not care. Nothing else matters to me. You win a Super Bowl, to me, this is the first time I've experienced it since I was 12 years old. I'm now almost 40. So if you go win a Super Bowl, do whatever the hell you want. Like, you've got autonomy for the next 5 years before I'll even consider bitching about anything again. So go win a Super Bowl. Nothing else matters outside of that. I do suspect that Jimmy's gone regardless because of money and all the things that go into it. But I personally, uh, you know, I won't have a bad thing to say about Jimmy. If they win a Super Bowl, normally the Monday after these games, I'm coming out and we're debating on whether Jimmy won it or was he clutch and how much was on the other part of the team, how much was none of that issue will matter. It'll just be celebration, jubilation, and being happy. And if Jimmy fans, if he comes out and goes 50% passing, 2 picks, and they win the game and they want to do a victory lap on me, go ahead. If that's your prerogative, I don't care because the 49ers won a Super Bowl and that's all that freaking matters to me.
I love it. Marco says Jimmy will be a number 3 for the 49ers if he wins a Super Bowl. That passes Jeff Garcia and Colin Kaepernick. Obviously, Super Bowl definitely solidifies him as number 3. It'd be interesting to see where people put him if he goes to the Super Bowl and loses or doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. Like right now, where he would fit because, like I said, I think he maybe not doesn't have as many of winning seasons as like a Jeff Garcia and maybe doesn't have like the flash that Colin Kaepernick has. But I think I give him a lot of credit for turning around a culture and just the character he showed in just a very volatile, just every offseason that he's been on the team has been kind of brutal if you're like Jimmy Garoppolo, and he still comes out with that pretty boy smile, and he still comes out and, handles the business to the best of his ability. Now we could argue if that ability is good enough, right? Obviously, but they win. They're in NFC in the last 3 years, NFC championship games. And look, since Kyle Shanahan has been a 49er head coach, there's not the only other quarterback that's been to the NFC championship more than Jimmy Garoppolo is Aaron Rodgers, right? So something to be said